Okay then, so this feels like the 9 millionth attempt at getting this video working. I kind of had this deluded idea that I was going to do it once and be good at it. I forgot that to get good at stuff you've got to practice and you've got to work at it. I've been trying to put together a video but featuring really something that I find is quite important, talking about hope and identification. Identification, I feel like that's important because we all need to belong. We all want to be part of something. Nobody wants to think they're an island. No one wants to be isolated, or no one that I suspect is healthy. And I'm going to use a little bit of an anecdote, I suppose, to illustrate that. So when I used to read a lot of books. Books is a good form of escapism for me. I don't have time anymore, but when I was young, before I started using drugs, I read a lot of books. I learned a lot from books. Part of the reason I believe I'm quite articulate is because of the amount of books I read. Anyway, I was reading the book Red Dragon, Thomas Harris. It's part of the Hannibal Lecter series, and when I was using drugs I was reading this book, and at the time I couldn't understand why I kept doing the things I was doing, why I kept hurting people, why I kept, for example, I stole off my mum on multiple occasions, and I know that's wrong. I know the difference between right and wrong, and I felt guilty and ashamed of it, and I didn't want to do it, and I hated myself a little bit more for doing it, but then I still did it anyway the next time I needed drugs, and I was able to. And I couldn't quite understand what was wrong with me. I kept saying, why am I doing this? Why is this happening? And anyway, I was reading the Thomas Harris book, Red Dragon, and in the book there's a sequence where the murderer, the Red Dragon character, Thomas Dollarhide, is he's having these internal dialogues which are really quite scary, where he's got this internal voice that's bullying him to do stuff, giving him orders, talking down to him, all that kind of stuff. And I remember thinking to myself, I thought, maybe this is what's wrong with me. Maybe I am a psychopath or a sociopath or a serial killer who hasn't killed anyone yet, which is sad, really. But I thought that because I couldn't understand why I was doing what I was doing, and B, I didn't feel like other people. I often feel separate from and disconnected from other people, and sometimes I have to make a conscious effort to feel like a member of the same race. The human race. Anyway, so I was identifying with this character, and then I got clean and I was via a detox, and then I was exposed to other addicts in recovery, if you'll excuse the term, people who were recovering from drug problems or alcohol problems. I went to mutual aid meetings, and whilst I was there I met these people, and at first I was very dismissive. I used to sit there thinking, well, how's this going to help me? Sitting here talking about my problems, and I dismissed some of them and thought, well, they're not proper drug addicts, because they didn't use the drugs I used, and then I was in a meeting, one of these recovery meetings, and there was and it was quite early on. I had very few social skills. I wasn't very good at interacting with people. I felt I had really low self-worth, and I'd been stood outside the meeting. I wasn't very good at talking to people. I couldn't initiate a conversation, and I remember hanging around watching people having conversations in small groups, and I felt excluded from that. And I had this fear that if I tried interjecting, that if I tried joining in with a conversation, that you would turn to me and be like, what do you want? Who are you? What's any of this got to do with you? You know, I would be rejected. So rather than run the risk of being rejected or disliked or shunned, what I used to do was I used to stand there on my own, separate from everybody, exuding this aura of don't talk to me, don't come near me. You know, I would. I remember I stood there. I had like a camouflage cap on. I had a cap on. I had a hood over the top of the cap. I stood there with my arms folded, 9.5 stone, soaking wet, scowling at anybody who came near me, because I was afraid that I would be rejected. I was afraid that I would be kind of laughed at, and so I tried to reject everybody before, and I pretended I didn't give a shit whether you like me or not, when really I just wanted to be liked. So anyway, so that was how I kind of behaved outside meetings. I didn't really know how to talk to people, or feel confident enough to talk to people, or feel worthy of it. And there was a bloke outside the meeting, and he seemed like quite popular. He was a bit older, and he seemed quite popular, and he seemed confident, and he was having conversations, and people seemed to want to gravitate towards this fella. You know, and then when we were in the meeting, he sat inside and he started talking about how he started talking about how many years clean he was, which was quite a lot. You know, I'd never really met anybody who'd been that abstinent for that long. It was like in the teens or even 20s. I think he was like over 15 years clean or something, and that was just beyond comprehension really to me. And then, but he sat there in the meeting talking about how he'd done the exact same things that I was doing, that I'd been doing that night. You know, he sat there talking about how he rejected people, how he scowled at everybody, how he, you know, tried to portray or pretend to be a hard man, as I'd been doing, you know, pretending to be this tough, I don't need anybody character. When really I was just crying out for a bit of attention and a bit of love and a bit of something to belong to and be part of. And I listened to him and I identified, I felt like another person. I felt like he was like me and I was like him, and look at him, he was a million years clean. And that started off a process of me starting to think, some of these people are like me. There are people who've felt like me, feel like me, act like me, done the kind of things that I do or have done, and seem to be doing okay now, which was massive. I started to get hope of recovery. I started to believe that actually maybe I could live well, be confident, be popular, because that was the stuff I wanted. Yeah. And why is that important? I guess if I have no hope of recovery, if somebody has no hope of recovery, doesn't believe that they can stay clean, doesn't believe that or that they can live a better life, not necessarily clean, but if people don't believe that they can live a better life, why are they even going to try? It's difficult getting or staying in recovery. It's, you know, you have to face up to a lot of stuff, you have to deal with a lot of your demons, you have to do a fair bit of work. Why would anybody go to all that effort if they didn't envisage a goal at the end, if they didn't believe it was possible for them? They wouldn't. You know. This is one of the things that I hope my talks offer. I hope that I can speak to people, and I know they do. You know, I've been into several prisons. I've been into a community rehab setting, and I've talked to people with substance misuse problems about my experiences, about how I've thought, felt, behaved, lived, and I've demonstrated just by being there and just by doing the things that I do now that it is possible to go from a hopeless state of loneliness and isolation and pain, you know, the fabled rock bottom, I guess. Although, yeah, my rock bottom felt like it lasted about 7 years, mine, but that's another story. To go from that to having an half decent life, being able to face fears, be more confident, be courageous, achieve things and hold your head up high and stand with your shoulders back, feel good. That's what I hope to do. I know I do. I've had feedback from the lads in the prisons and in the rehab that they were motivated and inspired by what I say and do. Not because there's anything special about me though, but because they are able to identify and see that I'm like them, they're like me, we're all the same. In a roundabout way, we're all individual, but we are all very similar. And if I can do it, so can they. Yeah, I welcome any comments, feedback. I'm learning with this video stuff. It burnt my head out tonight. This is like my 4th or 5th attempt. So any feedback that helps me get better at it, I appreciate that. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you.